And welcome back to another episode of Dogs on the Couch, where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game you were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. Please, by all means, first, let me get this out of the way. Please, by all means, please, like, comment. Most importantly, subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just hit the subscribe button for me. Really helps the channel. Also helps with getting these videos pushed into the algorithm so that like-minded people can then click and view as well. So again, please like, comment, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button for your boy, man. I really do appreciate that. I appreciate all the subscriptions as well as views. Thank you very much. Now that we got that out the way, Deshaun Watson seems to be a major topic here as of recent. And, the Deshaun Watson hate is back at an all-time high. So I want to just go over a little bit in regards to Deshaun Watson. I'm a person who does not have a dog in the fight. That's when it comes to Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders. I'm not pro or con either one of them. I just kind of try to like to look at things in totality and then try to go with what makes sense instead of what fits the narrative at that time. I like to try to go with what makes sense as opposed to what fits the narrative at that particular junction. So what we'll do to start with this, because unfortunately my guy Quincy Carrier, again, courtesy of Worst Take, he kind of, I guess, encompasses, I could say, what a lot of, the anti Deshaun Watson people have been spewing. He has kind of the same sentiments. Him, Jason Lloyd, Zach Jackson, those kinds of guys. They're all kind of in the same camp, with the same mindset as far as Deshaun Watson. He's trash. He should never see an NFL field again. The injuries, and then not only the injuries, but he's just not good at football. He can't read defenses. He's terrible. His arms are noodle. He's not athletic anymore. He's trash. That's pretty much the narrative. And you're looked at as you're crazy if you consider anything besides that specific narrative. So with this situation in specific, Todd Monken, Andrew Berry, as well as Jimmy Haslam have all spoke, about the quarterback situation, and all given their own piece. The person whose piece or speaking means the most to me is the coach, Todd Monken. He was brought in to fix the offense, quote unquote. So I would believe that he would probably have the best gauge and or idea of what he's going to want to do at quarterback. Not only that, the most important thing for me is, everyone speaks about this situation as if Todd Monken took the job not knowing who his quarterbacks were going to be. Todd Monken took the job knowing exactly what his quarterback room looked like. I don't think Todd Monken would have taken the job if he didn't have an open mind for every quarterback that's in the quarterback room. And unfortunately for some people, that does include Deshaun Watson. So really quickly, what we're going to do, we're going to listen to two separate clips of what Todd Monken himself has to say, about the quarterbacks and how he views them. And, one of the bigger things that Quincy is just so blown by, and oh my God, he's calling Todd Monken stupid and all this other stuff. The fact that Monken said that he hadn't really watched, too much tape in specific tape of Deshaun Watson with the Browns, because that's Quincy's and other people like him, Jason Lloyd, Zach Jackson. Their main concern is the tape that Deshaun Watson has with the Browns. Why you need to watch the Browns tape of Deshaun Watson, not all of his tape, just the Browns tape. It's the only tape you need to watch of him is the Browns, because that's the tape of him that matters. So only watch the Browns tape. Let's first listen to Todd Monken and what he has to say. Then after that, we'll hear Quincy Carrier complain as to why he doesn't like what Todd Monken has to say. And then I'll give my assessment. So here's Todd Monken speaking on tape watching of Deshaun Watson.
I really haven't looked at much film from the past of Deshaun. I know he's going to be part of the roster, and I know he's played at an elite level in the past, and we're excited to get to work with him. I know he's excited about getting back here and getting to work.
Now, look, I'm going to be critical.
Now, that's a very blanket answer that he gave right there. He's actually going to get a bit more in depth. And he's very careful. If you notice, when he gets ready to answer this next question, he's very careful about how he words his answer. But as careful as he is, he's also very straightforward and very descriptive about why he said what he said and why he thinks what he thinks in regards to Deshaun Watson. And I would also think not just Deshaun Watson, but also any other quarterback that he has available for him to be able to, examine. Let's listen to a little bit more intricate explanation of what Todd Monken means when he says he hadn't really watched, tape on Deshaun Watson.
A chunk of it.
Todd, when you say that, you said that you really haven't looked at prior Deshaun film. Why wouldn't you look at prior games that he's played, even in Cleveland, and in the same way that you watched Shador?
I just haven't drilled down into that. Have I watched a little bit of it? Of course that is, but there's also some aspects of it. Okay, so I would say this: we have crossover tape. Have I seen Deshaun Watson play before? Of course. I saw him play against us when I was in Baltimore. Did we play the Cowboys 2 years ago after Cleveland opened up the season with Dallas? Yes. Is that a great film to watch Deshaun Watson on? Absolutely not. I mean, that was not a fun tape to watch. To try and look at that film and say, that's Deshaun Watson's unfair. So I think you won a little bit because I don't know the system they changed to. I'm making a point here. When Ken Dorsey came in and what they were running, I don't know that. I don't know what they were asking him to do. Or the year before when the Browns came over and beat the Ravens there. I don't know that. I just know what I've seen over the years. I've seen a really good football player. And we're hoping to be able to tap into that. I know he's excited, and we're excited to work with him. Like we are with Dylan, like we are with Shador.
I think that follow-up answer is even more concerning because he basically says he's only really watched of Watson.
Now, really quickly, first of all, I don't understand how a guy could be so straightforward and tell you exactly what's going on, but somehow that concerns you. It's very concerning to you. But mind you, when Kevin used to just not answer questions at all, even down to like when, we had got to the point where we traded Joe Flacco away and, some other things had happened and it was clear that Shador Sanders should be promoted to QB2. Kevin Stefanski still wouldn't even commit to that. Yeah. He still was like, oh, no, well, you'll have to see how it plays out there. And it was like, dude, you ain't really got no other quarterback. The only other quarterback you got on the roster is Bailey Zappi on the practice squad. So why are you hesitating to just say, yeah, Shador's the backup? Why? So we go from that to, a guy who's secretive about everything for no reason, because he's secretive about it and he still sucks, to a guy that's just flat out telling you exactly he's telling you exactly what it is. I don't understand how you're confused. Before I break it all down, let's listen to a little bit more of Quincy's ranting about why he, I was so concerned about this, I guess. I don't know.
If that's where you're at, why have we been doing this whole thing with Deshaun Watson in the media over the last couple of months? Because it's not just Deshaun Watson's people like it was last year, right? Like, this is Jimmy Haslam hyping him up. Todd Monken has went out of his way to say, oh, well, he's so talented. Even in that interview, he's talking about he's so talented. How does he know? He hasn't watched Deshaun Watson play. Like, really think about this. I've watched more Deshaun Watson on 22 in Cleveland of what he's done in Cleveland than Todd Monken. That's not good.
Okay. It's much more. I struggle listening to it. Like it's like nails on a chalkboard to me. Because again, the problem is with people like Quincy and Jason Lloyd and these people. Again, worst Quincy, worst take Jason Lloyd, UCSS. Want to make sure I give you guys your credit. They're more so worried about the tape with the Browns, because in their mind, that's the only tape that matters. Watching the tape of people with the Browns. Here's the problem with that. If you only watch Joe Flacco's tape with the Browns last year, you would think that Joe Flacco was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. However, if you watch Joe Flacco's tape with the Cincinnati Bengals, well, I'll be darned. He kind of looks all right, doesn't he? So, and mind you, Joe Flacco isn't the only quarterback. Baker Mayfield clearly looks better over there in Tampa Bay than he looked over in Cleveland. The latter part, with him and Stefanski, because they did have a part where they looked decent together. I'm not going to deny that. When you was loaded with talent, of course. But again, towards the end, it looked trash. It looked terrible. And then again, he get over there to Tampa Bay, it looks better all of a sudden. It goes on. You know what I'm saying? The list goes on of quarterbacks that Stefanski have had, and they just look bad under him and in his offense. They look trash. Todd Monken was very careful with his words when he was explaining what he was saying, because I can sit here and just say this because I'm not in the coaching circle and I don't got to be nice about saying nothing to nobody. I can just be raw and uncut with it. To me, it sounds like, and I'm paraphrasing, okay? I'm not putting words in Monken's mouth. I'm just saying what I got from it. That offense they was running was trash. Why on earth would I be watching that? What is I'm watching that film for? That offense they was running was terrible. Now, to clean it up, this is how Monken, if you just listen to what he said, he was like, look, I can't take this Dallas Cowboy game tape and say that this is a good representation of who Deshaun Watson is. He basically saying, like, I've seen Deshaun Watson over the years. For me to think that the only version of Deshaun Watson that exists is the one that was in this Cowboys game or some of these other bad games with the Browns that you could point to, he's saying that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not a real assessment of Deshaun Watson. I don't believe, Monken is saying, I don't believe that's who he is. Then he adds more context to it by saying, well, look, when they brought Dorsey over to supposedly cater the offense to him, but mind you, he wouldn't let Dorsey call the plays. So Dorsey's supposed to cater the offense to him, but you won't let him call the plays as the offensive coordinator. The only time you let Dorsey call the plays was after Watson got hurt and then Jameis Winston came in. That was backwards. It was dumb, but that's what you get from Kevin. So Monken could be looking at this like, Monken could have been looking at it like, well, look, I seen some of this stuff, in cross tape. And I myself was looking at the Browns offense like, what on earth are they doing? What is this? How is Deshaun supposed to be successful in this? What was the route concept right here? What were they asking him to do? What was he supposed to be looking at? Because I'm looking at, I don't see anything. So I don't know what they were asking him to do. Like, I don't know what they were asking him to do. And then he says, even the year before. So just in case, he ain't want to leave it just strictly with the Ken Dorsey stuff. He was like, even the year prior, when they came to Baltimore and played, he's like, I don't know what they were doing or what they was asking him to do. I have no idea. And again, for people like Quincy, it's like, well, how do you know that Todd Monken wasn't looking at some of that film and was just like, oh my God, this is trash. This is garbage. This is terrible. Now, clearly, he can't just come out and say, yeah, that stuff Stefanski was doing was trash. He can't do that because you in the coaching circle and you don't, coach's oath. You don't say nothing bad about another coach. That's just the way it goes. You don't say nothing bad about another coach. It is what it is. Y'all protect each other and all that kind of crap. So he's not about to just come out and say that, but he said it in so many words by saying, I don't know what was going on. Basically, if you look at some of this stuff, that's not a proper representation of Deshaun Watson. I don't believe that that's truly who he is. And then not only that, I don't know what they was doing. I don't know what the plays was. I don't know what the concepts was. I don't know what they were asking him to do. So why would I be spending so much time drilling down, watching this tape of stuff that when I'm trying to break it down, I can't even understand what they was trying to do? And I got a brilliant offensive mind, and I'm looking at this stuff like, okay, why you got 3 wide receivers running routes in the same area right next to each other? And you expect somebody to be open? They're not open. They're not open. You didn't add any extra blocking protection right here for Deshaun Watson. So now he's scrambling for his life, and then he makes a poor decision over here to throw the ball. Maybe if you had protected him a little bit better, he could feel comfortable and be able to go through his reads, the proper way. If you had drew up a play to maybe add some extra protection in there. Like you used to do with Dylan Gabriel, Stefanski, but you wouldn't do it with Shedeur, and the numbers showed that. You added more pass protection with Gabriel than you did with Sanders. So again, even if you just break it down to the simplest form, we know that Deshaun Watson didn't like Stefanski's offense. So how can you expect a quarterback that don't like your offense and ain't good at whatever your offense is asking him to do, how could he look good in that? When other coaches tailor their offense to the player that they have. That's why we got a Todd Monken in here right now. Because he can relate to the players, no matter what background or ethnicity or any of that, he can relate to the players, and his goal is to tailor the offense to the skill sets of the players that he has. And then whoever does the best, that's who we gonna go with. So I'm not understanding where all this confusion is and why we don't like and why we're so down on, what do you mean you haven't watched the tape? You need to watch the tape. This guy could potentially be your starter. Watch the tape. The reason that they want Monken to watch that tape so bad is because they want Monken to watch the tape and be like, oh yeah, this guy's trash. He's not included in the quarterback competition. That's why you saying you don't understand Monken and all of this is concerted that he didn't watch the tape, because you just want him to watch the tape and see the same thing that you saw. What if he watches the tape and he sees something different? What if he looking at that tape and he like, yeah, we could say that Deshaun ain't no good, but I'm looking at some of this other stuff that ain't no good neither. So for me to be able to make a proper assessment of how good or how bad Deshaun Watson is, I need to put him out there in my stuff, where I know for a fact I'm putting him in advantageous positions. I'm doing stuff to put him in position where he can feel confident about what he's doing. Now, if I do that for him and he still looks trash, now I can say, buddy ain't got it no more. Because I've seen it under my watch, not up under Stefanski's watch. What benefit does Todd Monken get out of watching Deshaun Watson's tape in Kevin Stefanski's offense that Deshaun Watson didn't like, didn't want, and clearly Stefanski doesn't know how to evolve his offense or adapt it to his players? That's part of the reason why he's gone. It's a major part of the reason why he's gone. So why would Todd Monken waste his time watching a quarterback in the worst offense, in the league's worst offense back-to-back years? And that was with and without Deshaun Watson. That's what y'all forgetting, people like Quincy Carrier. Because at one point, at one point, he was clamoring saying, all you had to do to make the offense better was just replace Deshaun Watson. I got him on record saying that on this channel. You was one of the people that was saying, all you got to do to make the offense better is just swap out Deshaun Watson, swap out the quarterback position, put Jameis Winston in there, and we're good to go. How did that work out? Oh, that's what I thought. And then all the quarterbacks after Jameis Winston, how did they work out? When you brought Joe Flacco back to recreate that Flacco magic, how did that work out? Oh, he looked just as bad as Deshaun Watson. You forget that, right? So if I'm Todd Monken, why am I watching that? Why am I watching that? Why am I spending all that time watching that tape? Watch this. Did Kevin Stefanski do what Bill O'Brien did? You know what Bill O'Brien did with Deshaun Watson? He went back to Clemson. I don't know if he physically went back, but he reached back out to Clemson and asked his coach over there, hey man, what's up? What was y'all doing with Buddy over there? Like, what was some of the stuff that was his best stuff? And then he took that and then would incorporate it in what was going on with Deshaun Watson currently. Maybe that's a part of the reason why he was looking good then, because he had a coach and a GM or whatever who cared enough to be like, well, let us get some stuff that you're comfortable with, that you like, because you the quarterback. So what good is it going to do for me to force you into a system that you don't like, and then I think you're supposed to look good in it? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make sense. At some point, there's give and take. And my thing is, even when you tried to say that you catered it to Deshaun Watson, that was smoke and mirrors. You brought Ken Dorsey in to help tailor an offense for him, but then you wouldn't let Dorsey call the plays for him. But then when he gets hurt, and then Jameis Winston, who came here strictly for Stefanski, and then now Stefanski, you got a chance to call your plays in your system with a guy who wants to run your stuff in Jameis Winston. You said, nope, I don't want to call plays for Jameis Winston. Ken Dorsey, go ahead. You take a crack at it now. Go ahead. You go ahead. And I said back then, I thought that Stefanski did that because he knew if Jameis Winston was in there with him calling the plays and his offense, and once it still looked bad, everybody was going to have to drop on him. So he had to deflect. Because because then the narrative was it's all Deshaun Watson's fault. If you just get Deshaun Watson out of there and put another quarterback in, everything gonna be cool. Well, Stefanski, if this other quarterback get in here and then he looked just as bad as Deshaun Watson did, now it's one less scapegoat for me to have. So, all right, let me take this headset off. You go ahead, Dorsey. So that way, when it looked bad, they can blame you and not me. And in the following year, just so happened when you take the play calling back and then you bring Joe Flacco back and you run your system back and everything is your stuff. You even got to pick Dylan Gabriel. And it still looked trash. So at that point, you had ran out of scapegoats, buddy, and it was just you. So again, for Quincy Carriers and Jason Lloyds and Zach Jacksons and all these other I don't understand. I want to try to stay away from the name calling, but some of their viewpoints are very idiotic. At the end of the day, Todd Monken is telling you exactly what's going on. Todd Monken is basically telling you all of these quarterbacks are going to start from ground zero. I'm going to implement my system with each one of these quarterbacks to try to accentuate things that maybe I feel like they're good at, and then maybe try to hide things that I feel like they're not so good at, until we can develop those things that they're not so good at. And then now we could turn it from a negative into maybe even one of their strong suits. But at the very minimum, it won't be something that hinders them as much anymore. And then once I put them all in my system and I set them up to be in advantageous positions, and then I get a chance to see them in live reps, whoever looks the best, that's going to be my starter. Why is that so hard to grasp? Why is that so hard to understand? I know why. Because you're just mad that he ain't saying Deshaun Watson is trash and I'm not about to play him. Because that's what you really want. You really just don't want no chance of Deshaun Watson being back out there starting football games. Just say that. That's all you got to do. Just say, I hate Deshaun Watson. That's all you got to do. Just say, I hate Deshaun Watson. Instead of trying to make it seem like Monken don't know what he's talking about or all this other. Stop talking about Todd Monken and leave him alone. He ain't coached the game yet. He ain't coached a preseason game yet. So let him, whatever process he has, let him do his process. Y'all did everything to support Kevin's processes no matter how dumb they were. Not giving Shedeur Sanders any first-team reps when you knew he was only one injury away from going in the game. Y'all defended that by saying, well, no backup gets any first-team reps. He shouldn't split the reps evenly. And we were saying, we're not asking for you to split the reps evenly between Dylan and Shedeur. We just saying that Shedeur should at least have 3 reps at the end of a practice period with the first squad. So if it's 30 total reps, Dylan, go ahead and get your 27. But them last 3 reps, why can't Shedeur get those? Why he can't get them last 3 reps with the ones? What does that matter? And they used to be like, well, Dylan's a rookie, so he needs every rep. Well, Shador's a rookie too. So if you can't expect Dylan to be good unless he gets every rep, well then how can you expect Shador to be good and he gets no reps? It doesn't make sense. The narrative pushing just overrides all the common sense, it seems like. So for me, in closing, all this Deshaun Watson hatred, just say you hate Deshaun Watson. But my thing is this. The Deshaun Watson that you hate is the one that was under Stefanski. Y'all love to eliminate what he did before that. He hasn't had a chance to do anything under anybody else but Stefanski. Since 2020, he ain't had a chance to be up under nobody else. And respectfully, Deshaun Watson, as bad as he was, in them 19 starts, I think his record was 9-10. So he has a better winning percentage as the Browns quarterback in his tenure here than Kevin Stefanski had as the Browns head coach in his tenure here. Deshaun Watson's record as the starting quarterback is 1 game under 500. Go look at Stefanski's record as the head coach for quarterback. And to really spice it up, look at his record without Deshaun Watson. So you can't say that Deshaun Watson was messing up his record. Look at his record without Deshaun Watson. It'll tell you everything you need to know. So for me, the only thing that I'm saying is just this. What I feel like Deshaun Watson deserves is a chance to be viewed under someone else's tutelage. Before we just make the determining factor above all that you're just trash and you're garbage and you'll never have it again, let me see what he looks like with somebody else. Because, and I mean, I'm not saying that, but I got to bring it up. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold looked different under other people's tutelage than what he looked like when he was with the Jets. All of a sudden, when he got with the Niners, he looked better. Real coach, real play caller over there. Gets with the Seattle Seahawks, Buddy wins a Super Bowl. If we treated Sam Darnold the way we treated Deshaun Watson, Sam Darnold would have never won a Super Bowl because we wouldn't want to see him again. Look how bad he was. He said he was seeing ghosts. That lets you know how bad he was playing. How bad he was playing, he actually came out his mouth and said he was out there seeing ghosts. So with Deshaun, you could say, oh, look at his play. It looks like he's seeing ghosts out there. Okay, well, Sam Darnold said out his mouth he was seeing ghosts. That's what he said. So if we was to treat him the same way we treat Deshaun Watson, Buddy would have never got another chance, let alone have an opportunity to be a starting quarterback again, and God forbid, win a Super Bowl? What? So, sorry, for me, I'm not closed-minded. I want Todd Monken to do what he was hired to do, which is install a better offense, and then Todd Monken, don't pigeonhole yourself into a quarterback. Look at everybody and then pick whoever the best guy is. If that best guy just so happens to be Deshaun Watson, I'm not going to be mad about it. Because clearly that means Todd Monken evaluated and he felt like that was the best guy to run his stuff. So by all means, do that. Because when Kevin Stefanski picked Dylan Gabriel as the best guy to run his stuff, y'all was 100% with it, and y'all was calling Dylan Gabriel a supercomputer. Turns out he wasn't. So if we was cool with letting Stefanski do that, then we should be okay with Todd Monken giving us a full, thorough explanation as to why he, A, hasn't fully committed to one specific quarterback, and also what his process is and what it's going to be, and how he ends up using that to eventually determine who his starting quarterback will be. Dogs on the couch. Signing off.